Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are solving IGCSE Chemistry May-June 2024 and this is the MCQ extended paper, so paper 22. Now let's start with the first question. Which gas has the slowest rate of diffusion? So for this we know that higher the molecular mass, the rate of diffusion will be low. And if the molecular mass is less, the rate of diffusion will be high. Now they are asking us that which one has the slowest rate. So we have to figure out of all these four gases, which one has the highest relative molecular mass. Hydrogen's molecular mass is 2, ammonia is 17, CH4 is 16 and CO2 is 44. So the one with the highest molecular mass is CO2 means its rate of diffusion will be the slowest. So correct answer will be D. Next question. Which element about the position of elements in the which statement about the position of elements in the periodic table are correct? Elements in the same group have same chemical properties. Similar chemical properties. Yes, this is true. Elements in the same period have similar chemical properties. This is not right. It only stands for the elements in the same group. Same group means just like group 1, hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. Top to bottom, this is considered as a group. Now all these are metals, all these have the valency of 1. All these have one valence electron in the outermost shell. So that is why they have similar chemical properties in the group, but not in the period. Now elements in the same group have same number of electron shells. Elements in the same group have same number of electron shells. No, this is wrong. They have same number of valence electron shells. This is a tricky statement, but you need to be clear about the concept. They have same number of valence shells, not all the number of electron shells. Just think about it. If they have the same number of electron shells and they have the same electronic configuration, then how will it be different? These all will be the same elements then, but it is not possible. They have same number of valence shells, not the electron shells. Elements in the same group have same number of outer shell electrons. See, this is what they mean by valence electrons. So this is true that all of them have one valence electron. For example, group 1, so all of them have one valence electron, so this is correct. So which option should be correct? Statement A and 4 is right, so option B will be the correct one. Now let's start with the third question. Which statement about isotopes are correct? Isotopes are atoms of different element with the same number of protons. No, this is not right. Isotopes are atoms of same element with same number of protons but different neutrons or different mass number. This is the definition that is also given in the syllabus guide. For the definitions and the theory part, I would recommend that you go through the syllabus guide for all the definitions and all the formulas. Okay, so this statement is incorrect. Isotopes of the same element have similar chemical properties. This is true because they have the same electronic configuration. Then isotopes are atoms with the same relative atomic mass. No, it is not right. Since they have different number of neutrons, the mass number will be different. The atomic mass will be different. Isotopes of the same element have the same electronic configuration. Yes, this is right. They have the same electronic configuration and that is only why they have same chemical properties. Sometimes it is also asked in exams that why isotopes have similar chemical properties. The answer to that is because they have the same electronic structure or same electronic configuration. So statement 2 and 4 are right, means our option C is correct. Question 4. Which diagram shows the arrangement of outer shell of electrons in a molecule of water? So for this we know that water is H2O and hydrogen in its valence shell has 1 electron, oxygen in its valence shell has 6 electrons. Okay. So hydrogen they are showing with 2 electrons here. This is incorrect. They're again showing hydrogen with 2 electrons. Incorrect. And they're again showing hydrogen with 2 electrons. Incorrect. Now let's check option C. They're showing hydrogen with only 1 electron. This looks correct. Let's check for oxygen. How many electrons does oxygen have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we know that oxygen has 6 valence electrons and we need to show those. So option number C is correct. Now if we check option D, they're showing it correctly for hydrogen that it has 1 electron and 1 here. But for oxygen, they're only representing 2 electrons, which is incorrect because oxygen has 6 valence electrons. So that is why option D is incorrect. 5. The structures of three substances are shown. Which substances are hard and have a high melting point? So for this, we know that question number 5, the structures of three substances are shown. Which substances are hard and have a high melting point? For this, we know that this is graphite and this is diamond and this is silicon dioxide. Graphite is not that hard and does not have a very high melting point, so we will discard this. Diamond, on the other hand, is very hard and has a very high melting point. Same for silicon dioxide. It is very hard and it has a very high melting point. So, which option will be correct? The one with 2 and 3 only. So, option number D is correct. Next question. Information about four substances is given. WXYZ are graphite, polyethylene, sodium chloride, silicon oxide, but not in the order. So we have to identify which one is WXYZ based on the properties given. They have mentioned that W has a high melting point and does not conduct electricity when solid. Alright. X has a high melting point and conducts electricity when solid. What conducts electricity when solid? Graphite. Graphite conducts electricity when solid, so we can directly say that X is graphite. Let's check the options which are mentioning X as graphite. So it is option B and option D. Now we need to differentiate between option B and D. So let's check. Z they are mentioning as 801 melting point and it conducts in molten state. What conducts electricity in molten or aqueous state? Ionic compounds. So which ionic compound will that be? Sodium chloride, right? Sodium chloride conducts electricity in molten state. So the option correct will be D. The structure of glycine is shown. Which row is correct? So they're asking what is the formula of glycine. We can first of all count the number of carbon atoms here. There are two. Count the number of hydrogen atoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count the number of oxygen atoms O2 and nitrogen is 1. C2H5O2N. C2H5O2N. Option B, the formula is matching. Now let's check the number of different elements. Now, hydrogen, there are 5 times, but it is part of the same element. So you will count it only once. So you have hydrogen element here, you have carbon element here, oxygen element, nitrogen element. You can have more than one atoms of hydrogen, but element will be considered only one. Hydrogen is the element. Atoms can be many. So 4 elements are there, means the correct answer will be B only. Done with question 7. Let's do question 8. The incomplete equation for photosynthesis is given. So we clearly know that photosynthesis is CO2 plus H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2. The balanced equation is this: 6 with CO2, 6 with H2O and 6 with O2. Okay, so W, X and Y should be 6, 6 and 6. Let's check the option which says that W, X and Y are same. There are two options, that is A and B, which mentions W, X and Y are all the same, W, X and Y are all the same. So now they're asking what gives the empirical formula of the compound. Now this is where a lot of students will end up making mistakes. They will say that, oh, I know the formula. This is C6H12O6. So I'll directly pick option B, which will be incorrect because they're asking empirical formula, the simplest formula. So it will be CH2O. You divide the Molecular formula of glucose with 6. So the simplest formula will be, empirical formula will be CH2O. So option number A is correct, not B. B would have been correct if they were asking you the molecular formula instead of empirical formula. Since they are asking you empirical formula, so use a simplified formula, that is CH2O. Next question. The concentration and volume of an aqueous alkali are known. Which additional information is required to calculate the number of moles of acid? Now, you do not have to calculate the concentration of acid. They're simply asking calculate the number of moles of acid. Now, let's say if this is a simple equation, HCl plus NaOH, and you know the volume here and you know the concentration here. So from this you can find out moles of NaOH by doing concentration times volume. Now let's say the moles are 10 moles. Then what do? We check the ratio between NaOH and HCl. So if the ratio is 1 is to 1, we will say that this also has the same moles. If the ratio is 1 is to 2, we will say that this will have 20 moles. So what do we need to get the moles? We need the equation. Now they could have given you a different question. Instead of asking number of moles, they could have asked you calculate the what additional apparatus or values are needed to calculate the concentration of the other thing. So for concentration, you will need the equation as well as volume of the acid, because concentration is moles by volume. By using the ratio of the equation, you can calculate moles, but to find concentration, volume is also required. So in that case, you will have to pick the option which says which statement about electrolysis is correct? Electrons move through the electrolyte from cathode to anode. Ions move through the electrolyte. Move through electrolyte. Electrons move in the external circuit. External circuit. So option A is incorrect. Next question, next option. Electrons move in the external circuit towards the cathode. Now, cathode is the negative electrode. Cathode is the negative electrode which attracts cations. So the equations are cathode are typically like Na plus 1 electron giving Na, copper 2 plus 2 electrons giving copper. It means cathode has a supply of electrons. So doesn't it mean electrons must be moving from anode to cathode? Because at cathode, gain of electrons are there. Reduction takes place at cathode. Reduction takes place at cathode. Means gain of electrons is here. And at anode, oxidation takes place, which is loss of electrons. Now just think about it. Anode is losing electrons, cathode is gaining electrons. Means the electrons must be going from anode to cathode. So towards the cathode in the external circuit, this statement is correct. Negative ions move in the external circuit towards the anode. Negative ions move towards the external circuit. Now see, negative ions definitely move towards the anode, but not in the external circuit. See what I've written here. Ions move through the electrolyte. So that is why this statement is incorrect. Then positive ions move through the electrolyte. Yes, this is correct. They do move through the electrolyte, but they move towards the cathode, not the anode. This is also incorrect. Next question. Aqueous copper sulfate is electrolyzed using copper electrodes. Now, you're using reactive electrodes here. So for this, reduction takes place at a cathode. Just give me 1 minute. I'll erase this. We know that reduction takes at cathode, reduction takes place at cathode, means gain of electrons must be there. Now this does look like gain of electrons. This is not gain of electrons. This is also not gain of electrons. And this is also gain of electrons. So option A and B we have to differentiate between. Now, what is more reactive, copper or hydrogen? For cathode, there is a rule that less reactive cation goes to the cathode. So which one is less reactive? H plus or Cu2 plus? Cu2 plus is less reactive. So the correct answer will be D. Next question. Which three statements about activation energy are listed are correct? So colliding particles must have at least, alright, this is correct. Activation energy for exothermic is always greater. No. Endothermic needs more activation energy. Just try to understand the name. Endothermic means that I need energy in order for the reaction to happen. So endothermic always needs more energy than exothermic. And activation energy is always endothermic. Yes, because it is the energy required. Energy required, the energy that you put in, energy that you supply. So that is endothermic. Statement 1 and 3 is correct. So our option C will be correct. A student adds excess magnesium ribbon to this much volume of this much concentration sulfuric acid. All right. The hydrogen gas produced and the total volume is measured. All right. They're measuring the rate of reaction by finding out how much volume of hydrogen is being formed with respect to time. The experiment is repeated with 5 centimeter cube of sulfuric acid. Now see, what they're doing here is they're keeping the concentration same, but they have reduced the volume of sulfuric acid. Earlier it was 10 centimeter cube, now it is 5 centimeter cube. So moles is equals to concentration into volume. They're keeping the concentration as constant. So we can say moles is directly proportional to volume. And now in the second case, if they're decreasing the volume, the moles will decrease as well. Means the graph will not end at same point. The volume of hydrogen produced will be less. See, generally what happens is in rates of reaction, when you change various factors like concentration, temperature, the rate of reaction changes, but ultimately in the end, all of them meet at the same point. Let's say there is a graph like this, and the first experiment I'm doing is with high concentration, second is with low concentration. So the graphs will look like this. The graphs will look like this. The one below is with low concentration, the one above is with high concentration. But what we notice is that ultimately the amount of product formed will be same because the reactants you're using are in the same amount. But now in this case, you have decreased the reactant. You have decreased the number of moles. So the volume of hydrogen gas formed will be less as well. That is why option number D will be correct. Option fourth, that is D, is the correct one. The equation represents reversible, all right. Delta H is negative. So for this, very simple points are out there that if pressure is increased, equation goes to the side with less gaseous molecules. And how do we count the gaseous molecules? You check the coefficients here. It is 1, 1 and 1. And also make sure that you are counting gas only. Sometimes they write liquids. You do not have to count that. So currently on the reactant side, there are two gaseous molecules. And on the product side, there is only one gas molecule. So if you increase the pressure, the reaction will shift to the side with less gaseous molecules. So that is towards the forward side. And if you go towards the forward side, the yield of this thing will increase. The yield of ethanol will increase. So means we definitely need the pressure to be high. A and B removed. Pressure should be high. Now, for temperature, in exothermic reaction, there are two very simple points. If you increase the temperature, backward reaction is favored. And if you decrease the temperature, forward reaction is favored. We want more product. We want greater yield of the product. So we want the reaction to shift forward. And this is exothermic reaction. So you will pick temperature decrease and pressure increase. The correct answer will be C. Next question. Which row identify? So these conditions you have to memorize. They have given in the syllabus guide. You just need to memorize these. Pressure in contact process stays 2 atm and the catalyst is vanadium 5 oxide. So the correct answer will be B. Now let's start with question 16. They're asking you to identify a redox reaction. So for these type of questions, I have a very simple point for all of you. It will save you a lot of time. You should check the equation in which the reactant is in uncombined form. Then in the products, it is getting in a combined form or it is forming a compound. Or in the reactants, it is in combined form. But on the product side, it is getting in the uncombined form. What do I mean by this? Mg plus HCl gives MgCl2 plus H2. Now in this, magnesium is in uncombined form, but on the product side it is forming a compound. This type of reaction will always be a redox reaction. Also you can check HCl, hydrogen is in combined form here and hydrogen is in elemental form here. So definitely there will be some change of oxidation number. One will get oxidized, the other one will get reduced. So these kind of reactions are always redox reactions. What I'm simply saying is that check between the reactant and product whether they are changing from combined form in a compound to uncombined elemental form. If that is happening, that kind of reaction will always be redox reaction. Now if you check option number C, iron is an elemental form here, but on the product side it's in a compound, so definitely there will be some change of oxidation because oxidation's number in elemental form is 0, and here in a compound it will form plus positive charge. In compounds metals are always positive, so it will be positive, so there is some change. In H2O as well, you can see it's in a compound form here. H2O, hydrogen in compound is always +1, but hydrogen in elemental form is always 0. So all pick the option number C, the simplest answer. Question number 17. Which statement about this equation are correct? The oxidation number of aluminium reactant is +2. Aluminium here is in the elemental form. So in elemental form, oxidation state is always 0. The oxidation number is always 0. Then oxidation number of aluminium in the product is +6. Let's calculate. It is Al2O3. We will take aluminium as X. How many aluminium do we have? We have 2. Plus 3 times, what is the charge on single oxygen? -2. Total is equals to 0 because it's a compound. So 2 into x minus 6 is equals to 0. 2x is equals to 6. X is equals to +3. And we already know that from the periodic table, aluminium is always +3. So this is not possible. This is not possible. The oxidation number of copper in the reactant is +2. This we can check. Copper oxide. Copper as X and oxygen as -2. So X is positive 2. This is correct. The oxidation number of the copper product is 0. See, again the same thing. This is an elemental form, so the charge will be 0. So statement 3 and 4 are correct. Means option number C is correct. Question number 18. What is the color of thymophthalene in dilute hydrochloric acid? So for this you can remember that thymophthalene goes from colorless to blue. So in acid it is colorless, and it when the pH increases, so the basic range, it becomes blue. So they're asking for acid, the answer should be colorless. So option number D is correct. Question number 19. Two acids P and Q with the same concentration are reacting. Okay. The reaction produced same volume of hydrogen gas, but Q acid reacts much more slowly. So they're simply saying that acid Q is reacting slowly. Now there can be a lot of reasons for this, that concentration might be different, but that is not the case here. They are saying that same concentration is there. So we cannot apply the logic of concentration. Then we can say that the acid might be weak. Weak acids do not fully dissociate. This is the logic that we can apply. Strong acids dissociate completely in aqueous solutions, but weak acids do not dissociate. So acid P has a higher pH than acid Q. Higher pH means weak acid, but acid P is not weak. Acid Q is weak. Option A is incorrect. Acid P has a lower concentration of hydrogen ions. No. Since we know that acid P is the stronger acid and stronger acids dissociate completely, releasing hydrogen ions, so B is incorrect. Acid Q is partially dissociated. And I have written here do not fully dissociate. Both have the same meaning. Weak acids partially dissociate into aqueous ions, into ions in aqueous solution. And acid P is fully dissociated because it is a strong acid. This statement is correct. So option number C will be correct. Which process is not used for preparation of insoluble salt? Crystallization is not done. So option number C will be correct. Lithium and potassium are metals. Potassium is more reactive than lithium. This is true. Now, if potassium is more reactive, means the melting point of potassium will be less, but the density will be more. Why is the density more? Because as you go down the group, hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, as you go down a group, the density or the mass increases. So between lithium and potassium, potassium will have more density. So you simply have to pick the option which says that density is more, but the melting point is less. So option B will be the correct answer here. Next question. Which statement about transition elements are correct? They have low density, incorrect. They form ions with variable oxidation states, correct. They have a high melting point, correct. They form only colorless compounds. They form colored compounds, not colorless compounds. So the answer with statement 2 and 3 will be the correct one, which is option number C. Next question. Which statement describes the element in group? Now, do not read it as group 7. This is group 8. There are 3 bars. And group 8 is the noble gases. We know that noble gases are monoatomic, they are unreactive, and they have full outer shells. So 1, 2, and 3. Is there any option? Sorry. Noble gases are unreactive, but they have mentioned metals here. So these are not metals. If they had written these are unreactive gases, then this option would have been correct. So statement 1 and 3 is correct, which is option number A. 24. Four metals QRST are added. Alright, so we have to see some observations with water, steam, and HCl, and we have to figure out which one is reactive, which one is more reactive. Now, let's check the one first of all which is not reacting at all. R, no reaction with water, no reaction with steam, no reaction with HCl. If it is not reacting with HCl, means it should be below hydrogen in the reactivity series. So we clearly know that R is the least reactive metal. So statement A is correct. Now in option C and D, statement A is not there. So this already gets eliminated. We have to differentiate between option A and B. Option A and B both have statement 1 and 2 as correct. So we simply need to check the statement 4. Metals generally react faster with steam than they react with water. Now, if you pick a metal, let's say potassium, and once you reacted with water, then you reacted with steam. Steam is more reactive than water. So there will be explosive vigorous reaction. Means statement number 4 is correct. So option A is the correct answer. Metal X acts as a sacrificial metal to prevent iron from corroding. So we know that sacrificial protection for iron, zinc is used. Zinc is the correct answer. Metal X does not act as a sacrificial metal to prevent aluminum. Yes, that is true. So option D will be correct. Which equation represents the reduction of a compound found in hematite? So for this you need to know what is hematite. Hematite is ore of iron. The word heme means iron containing. Just like you have heard that in our body, in blood, hemoglobin is there. Hemoglobin means iron containing. That is what gives red color to our blood. So let's check the, this is not iron, this is not iron. This is an equation of iron and this is an equation of iron. Now we need to see that reduction is taking place here. Also, one point that for reduction of hematite, one equation as it is already given in the syllabus guide, and that is one of the options out of these two. But still, let's check conceptually. Reduction is taking place where? So, reduction is loss of oxygen as well, right? You know that oxidation is gain of oxygen and reduction is loss of oxygen. Now, FeO is getting converted to Fe2O3. So, this is oxidation. Fe2O3 is getting converted to Fe. This is reduction. Statement number D is correct. Which statements about treatment of domestic water supplies are correct? Filtration is used to remove insoluble substances. That is correct. Sedimentation is used to remove soluble. See, if it is soluble, why will it settle down? Sedimentation is used to remove the insoluble impurities which are heavy so that they settle to the bottom of the tank. Statement 2 is incorrect. Carbon is used to remove the taste and odor. This is correct. Chlorine is used to lower the pH of water. So they are saying that chlorine is used to make the water more acidic. No, that is not correct. Chlorine is used to kill the harmful microorganisms. So statement 1 and 3 is correct. So option A is correct. Which statement about water is correct? It turns anhydrous copper sulfate from pink to blue. No. It turns anhydrous copper sulfate from white to blue. This is correct. Copper sulfate on addition of water goes from white to blue. It turns cobalt chloride from blue to white, and pink to blue. This is also incorrect. Question number 29. Cupro nickel. From this word, it should be clear in your mind that it is made up of combination of copper and nickel. And when you combine two metals together, two or more than two metals together, that is an alloy. Alloys in their structure have different size atoms. Copper's atomic size will be different than the nickel's atomic size. And this is what you can clearly see here. The white ones are the copper atoms, and the ones in gray with a slightly larger size are nickel atoms. So this tells us that this is the alloy combination. So the answer is alloy, which is E. Question number 30. Which physical properties are typical of all metals? Good heat conductivity, yes. Low density, no. Malleability, yes. Transition metals are very high in density. So that is a statement 2 is correct. We will pick the option with 1 and 3. That is B. 31. Which statement is used to neutralize acidic gases in flue gas desulfurization? Alright. So let's say you have not studied this topic, but you have studied acid basis salts. In order to neutralize acidic gas, you need a basic gas. Now, metal oxides are basic in nature, non metal oxides are acidic. So, in order to neutralize an acidic gas, you need a basic gas which is a metallic oxide. Out of the four options, there is only one metallic oxide. That is option A. Very simple. Carbon dioxide is acidic, nitrogen oxide is acidic, sulfur dioxide is acidic. In fact, they constitute the acid rain. They form carbonic acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid in acid rain. Non-metallic oxides are acidic, metallic oxides are basic. They were asking that what will you use to neutralize acid gas? So we'll use a basic gas and metallic oxides are basic. That is why we went with option A. Next question. Some information about three gases. Gas P forms when magnesium reacts with. We know that when a metal reacts with acid, hydrogen gas is formed. 78% of air, this is nitrogen. Gas R forms when gas P combines with gas Q. So they're saying that when N2 combines with H2, there is a new gas formed. We know that this is the equation N2 plus 3H2 gives 2NH3. This is the equation that is given under the Haber process. So when nitrogen combines with hydrogen, ammonia is formed. So option number A will be correct. Which formula represents an alkene? For the general formula of alkene is CnH2n. Means whatever number of carbon atoms you have, hydrogen will be double of it. So if it is C4, it will be H8. If it is C2, it will be H4. If it is C3, it will be H6. So this is C2H4. This represents that hydrogen is getting double. So option number B will be correct. Question 34. The structures of two compounds used to make an ester. Good question. For this, I'll tell you one way to solve these kind of questions, that alcohol plus whatever acid they have given you will give you the ester plus H2O. Right? This is the general equation. Now, the alcohol they have given you is ethanol, and they have given you is propanoic acid. And for esters, you notice this, that there is always one "il" and then "oit." "Il", "oit", "il", "oit", "il", "oit". So just remember one thing: "il" goes with alcohol and "oit" goes with acid. "Il" goes with alcohol and "oit" goes with acid. What do I mean by this? If this is ethanol, you can write this as ethyl, and if this is propanoic acid, you write it as propanoate. Remember, with alcohol, you put up the "il" part, and with propanoic acid, you will call it as propanoate. So the answer will be ethyl propanoate. Which option is correct? Option A is correct. With alcohol, you always put "il". If it is ethanol, you call it ethyl. If it is propanol, you call it propyl. If it is butanol, you call it butyl. And if it is propanoic acid, you call it propanoate for naming the ester. If it is butanoic acid, you call it butanoate. Now let's say I'll give you another example. Let's say they're asking you to name this ester butanol plus propanoic acid. So I gave you the short trick that convert the butanol to "il", so this will be butyl, and propanoic to propanoate. So the name of the ester will be butyl propanoate. This will help. Next question. Question number 35. Which statement about homologous series is correct? We know that homologous series have same general formula. They have similar chemical properties and they differ by CH2 group. So they have the same general formula. Yes, this is correct. All members have the same molecular formula. Not possible. Molecular formula, how can they have same number of atoms? Not possible. All members have similar physical properties. There is change in physical properties. So this is not correct. Members show a trend in their chemical properties. Chemical properties are somewhat similar, so there is not exactly a trend. So option number A will be correct. 36. Which statement about aqueous ethanoic acid? We know that carboxylic acids are weak acids. So any oic acid that you see, it is a weak acid and it partially dissociates. Does it contain the functional group COOH? Yes, oic acids contain carboxylic acid, that is COOH. It reacts with carbonates to produce oxygen. So they're saying that your acid reacts with metal carbonates to produce hydrogen. No, this is not correct. When acid reacts with metal carbonate, you get the salt plus H2O and CO2. This is the general equation that we study in acid basis salts. Whenever an acid reacts with metal carbonate, it forms salt, H2O, and CO2. All right. It turns universal indicator paper blue. Is it a base? No, it's an acid. Incorrect. It has a pH lower than 7. This is correct. So currently we have figured out that statement 1 and 4 is correct. So option C will be the correct one. Alkenes react with steam to form alcohol, and fermentation, not fermentation, this is another question. 37. Alkenes react with steam in addition reaction. Some alkenes produce only one alcohol product. Some alkenes produce two different alcohols which are structural isomers. So you have to figure out that how many isomers are possible. See, ethene looks like this. This is ethene, and when you reacted with steam, ethanol is formed. So ethanol somewhat looks like this. Now, how many isomers can you form from this? You will say that, oh, I'll change the position of this, I'll move it to the other carbon. Don't you think it's exactly the same thing? Is it not exactly the same thing? The numbering will start from here now 1, 2. So again, it's ethanol only. So for ethene plus steam, only one isomer will be there. But for propene and steam, see, propene and steam will form propanol, right? Propene plus steam will form propanol. Now let's try drawing propanol. This is propanol. You can do two things here. That initially this is the first arrangement, so this is one isomer. Then you can put the alcohol to the middle part. And now the name will change. Now the name will be propane to all. Since the name is different and the position of alcohol is different now, first it was on the first carbon, now it is on the second carbon. So these two isomers are possible. But let's say in case you think, oh, now I'll put the alcohol to the third carbon and I'll make two isomers. Not possible. Because even if you put it here, let's say you put it here, OH. Now simply check between the first diagram and this one that you've drawn now. Are these two exactly not the same? Now the numbering will start from here 1, 2, 3. So it doesn't matter. Only two isomers are possible. So option B will be the correct one. Next question. What is the advantage of manufacturing ethanol? So this is a question that they're simply asking you. You can manufacture ethanol by two methods. One is fermentation of sugar. The second is fermentation of, not fermentation, addition of steam to ethene. The issue with addition of steam to ethene is that ethene is a hydrocarbon and it is a non renewable resource. But fermentation is a renewable process, it can be done again and again. So, fermentation is a fast process. No, fermentation uses renewable raw materials. It uses a mixture of glucose and yeast. So, that is a renewable resource. But ethene is a non renewable resource. So fermentation uses renewable materials. Option number D will be the correct one. Let's move on to the next question. The diagram shows the structure of a polymer. You have to draw the structure of the monomer. Alright, and as we see, this question looks a bit confusing, but just try to understand the basic concept. Let's first of all try to find what is the repeating unit. As I can see here, that this part is getting repeated continuously. They're just alternating the position. CH3 on top, then they've written it below, and CHO on below, now they've written on top. So you can notice that this is the unit which is being repeated. Just think about it, right? This is the unit which is being repeated. So I can say that first of all, let's draw the repeating unit here. So this is the repeating unit. Now, what do we do with this? The bonds that you can see outwards, this bond and this bond, These you can draw inwards in form of a single more bond, so it will be double bond. Shortly speaking, you'd create a double bond here, CH3, then H here, H and C double O H here. So this is the monomer that we have. Now we have to just match it. See, so CH2 they are mentioning here. Do we have a CH2? No, I don't think so. CH3 they have mentioned here and another CH3 they are mentioning here. Do we have two CH3s? I can see only one CH3. So this is incorrect. Option C, there is one CH3. There is one CH3, all right, and we do have one CH3. Then that CH3 is connected to a carbon. This is also connected to a carbon, which is connected to a hydrogen. It is connected to a hydrogen. Then it is double bonded to another carbon. Double bonded to another carbon, and that carbon has a hydrogen on top, and below there is COOH. Hydrogen on top, and then COOH. So option C is the correct one. Last question. Which piece of apparatus is used to measure 24.5 centimeter cube? Now, a pipette could have been used if it was 25 centimeter cube, and burette they have not mentioned here, so you will have to pick the measuring cylinder. So, option C is correct. This is it, guys. We are done with the whole paper. In case of any doubts, feel free to text me in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to reply to your doubts.